is that no matter what, through all kinds of metagames, he always plays these slow combo or controlling, really elaborate and cerebral lineups. That being said, he's going up against the lineup that he hopes he doesn't hit because he's bringing Quest Rogue, and it's going to be really tricky to face off against Token Druid, Odd Rogue, Zoo Warlock, and Secret Hunter, which I think is the most popular lineup this weekend.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of aggressive lineups here. We talked a little bit about how Asia Pacific is known for kind of wacky decks, and well, they're kind of known this weekend for whacking their opponents in the face. Lots of beatdown decks here. As you mentioned, Mage, with his lineup, which includes this kind of hybrid deck we're seeing right now, which is the Malygos / Togwaggle deck. This is a deck that we actually see a little bit of on ladder, basically trying to use the King Togwaggle Azalina Soul Thief engine, which fits with the rest of the stuff the Malygos deck uses to begin with to beat the controlling decks. Because if you're playing against, say, an Odd Warrior who can tank up to enormous amounts of armor, hard to kill with Malygos, but it's hard for them to beat your Azalina Togwaggle combo.
That's right. And to clarify, this is a recap of what's happening around the Tavern in round number 1. This is a Swiss event, so as most of the matches are finishing up, you guys are keeping up with us in the bracket. We're just showing you guys some of the games that's also happened, featuring some of the prominent players that you've seen or haven't seen in a while. Now let's talk a little bit about this Druid deck in particular. A lot of players have been favoring not just the mill Druid with Azalina Soul Thief and King Togwaggle, not just Malygos with Moonfires and Verblindus Floop. In fact, they're fusing it together. Right. In week number 1 of the playoffs in Europe, we saw kind of middling results. Where do you land on the fence here?
Well, I tend to like the Token Druid decks myself, but
okay,
as far as the sort of combo-oriented Malygos decks, I like the approach of going with the hybrid deck because, as I mentioned, sort of the shell for both of them is pretty similar. Both of them can use Dream Petal Forest very powerfully to discount key combo elements. Both of them take advantage of the ramp and the early game removal. So you're really only changing a couple of cards. In a lot of the straight-up Malygos decks, they tend to play like Lich King. They tend to play things that allow you to just sort of fundamentally put on pressure like that or Alex Straza. Whereas in this, instead of playing those cards, which give you a little bit of an alternate game plan of just big minions, you have the alternate game plan of, well, I'm just going to combo you out in this different way.
Yeah, assuming it can hold off the pressure that Aqua wants to put out. The first couple of games, Aqua jumped out to a 2-0 lead with Zoo Warlock and Token Druid getting fast wins. And then Mage managed to beat the Odd Rogue with Shutterwalk Shaman. That's where we're standing right now. Odd Rogue, one of the decks that is still doing fairly well, and a lot of people love bringing it because it does fit the aggro lineup. However, it has been struggling on some of its win percentages. So I am looking at this deck and hoping that it can perform better than my expectations. I ran a few simulations, Kibler, and given how many good control tools there are for classes like Druid or even like Shaman and Warlock right now, it feels like Odd Rogue has difficulty getting over the hump, especially when they're teching in cards like Blood Knight to try and win more of those Divine Shield board positions, and some decks aren't even running.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about Mage's deck too. He's choosing to play a Mind Control tech, which we see in his hand, but while many of the combo Druid decks choose to play Giggling Inventor, he's actually going without them.
Exactly.
And I think that's kind of a heads-up choice given the popularity of Blood Knight. I think Sottle actually posted some poll on Twitter. It's like, okay, how many Blood Knights and Mossy Horrors do you think there will be per Giggling Inventor in the tournament? And I think that last weekend it was actually like fairly close. It was like 5-4 or something like that.
Yeah, it's almost scary how often Giggling Inventor is being played in a lot of these decks when you look at the card popularity, but because of its popularity, that's why you can fight against that. Look at Aqua using his own Blood Knight against himself.
Yeah, it's one of the interesting things about the Blood Knight is you can use it proactively as well, as we see here, and getting that big minion on the board can be pretty huge if you get it early on. But we see Mage, he's got Mind Control Tech in his hand, and how many minions does Aqua have? That's 4. So there's one really big potential swing here, which is taking the Blood Knight. But even just taking 3-3-2-2, those can be pretty powerful as well to help him wrest back control of this board.
And Branching Paths is also a very good draw for Mage in this position, considering that he can utilize that to either pick up more cards or even just gain life if he feels like he needs to stall.
Oh, and it's the Blood Knight!
Yeah.
So Aqua gifts the 6-6 over to Mage, who's fortunate enough to get the perfect hit with that, and now the Branching Paths, he can just dig, and he finds Ultimate Infestation as his next card, so he doesn't need anything other than armor to stay alive and get himself going. I think we may be seeing a game number 5 in this match now.
I think so. You know, we were talking about how branching paths can be very flexible in that position, but because Mage stole the biggest threat, now he doesn't have to really gain that life. Instead, drawing that cards and trying to stay alive is definitely the best way to handle the board state.
Aqua has some tools to get the board back in his favor, but 10 mana against Druid, you've always got to be scared that they have exactly the card that Mage drew last turn, Ultimate Infestation, and that's one dead plant. And a lot of armor cards and a minion for Mage is really going to swing this around. Ooh, Tyrant as well.
Now, the problem with Odd Rogue is that it feels like it's one of the easier aggro decks to shut out. Outside of Vile Spine Slayer, their board flipping ability is not exactly as high as you see some other decks. And now, without a Myros Unstable Portal, that even adds to the fact that Aqua is very much all in on what he has. And Druid has so many removal tools and life gain. It doesn't even necessarily even matter. Like, Dream Petal Florist might even just be the strongest minion on board after everything's traded.
Yeah, I mean, Aqua has able to get a bunch of damage in here, but there's still a lot of life remaining for Mage, as well as another branching path. Ferocious Howl in the hand. So there's just so much armor gain available to Druid here, and especially with Malfurion as well. You know, he can choose to fight for the board with the hero power, or just keep himself alive with 3 armor per turn.
Yeah, I mean, Mage even has the ability to be flexible with his life total, not even have to address the board. He's at 29, essentially full life. Just has to shut off Aqua's biggest power plays, which is Fungal Mancer. I mean, even Aqua having Myros Unstable Portal wouldn't even give him access to the full power swing of playing another 5-mana card afterwards. So Mage just has to make sure to do his due diligence.
When your Druid opponent is safely playing a 7-cost 4/4 and just trading right off the board and are nearly at their starting life total, you are not in a position as Odd Rogue that you're going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty decent card to have, but it's way too late for Henge Clan Thug to have maximum impact. Aqua most likely won't even play this Leroy Jenkins because it doesn't accomplish that much on board, even compromises his minions. That gives Mage full ability to take initiative.
Yeah, Wild Growth is just going to go ahead and cycle through.
Yeah.
He has all the time in the world here. Aqua, as you mentioned, only really has that Myros Unstable element that is a real threat for him to draw. And even then, with the amount of armor gain that Mage has available with the branching paths in hand and the Malfurion hero power, can Aqua actually win the game in the window he'd have before he would fatigue out if he did draw his unstable element. And then, Spellstone again.
Mage just being greedy at this point. Branching pass for extra card. Like, what other cards do you need to win the game? Doesn't really feel like anything.
You don't need much, but if you do want to win with Togwaggle as Alina, you need to empty your deck. You need to ensure that your opponent does not have stuff that they can kill you with from your own deck. You don't want to swap decks with them and they draw unstable, or rather Ultimate Infestation.
True that.
That can go poorly for you.
It does make sense. And granted, it doesn't really matter too much what Mage does because he just has to answer 1 card a turn. I guess Mage was hoping that he would pick up a discount on Malagos so he could go for some big damage.
Spreading Plague for 1/1/5. This is the position that Mage is in here as far as dominance. Doesn't need to hold this for any sort of extra advantage. Well, yeah, and Aqua, he doesn't need to see anymore. He knows that this game is out of reach, and we are going to game number 5.
Yeah, so that's going to set up. So the Malagos got the win, and the Q block was Bance. Oh no, it's Quest Rogue. Quest Rogue versus Odd Rogue. That's going to be very tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just the first round, so a win will be really important for these players' records moving forward. And so when we come back, we're going to find out who gets that first step. Will it be Aqua or will it be Mage? Match, as we teased, Quest Rogue versus Odd Rogue is going to be very tough for the Quest Rogue, which is why, you know, I'm very hesitant in general to picking anybody this weekend that has Quest Rogue. But, you know, Odd Rogue is definitely one of the worst matchups you can have.
It is. And we actually heard last weekend there, before the Europe playoffs, there were a number of players who were saying they basically felt like the decision whether to bring Quest Rogue was kind of a defining part of a lot of players' lineups. And, you know, with how aggressive this field is, even compared to last weekend, Odd Rogue, or rather Quest Rogue, seems like a much more dangerous choice. And this is one of the really bad matchups because Odd Rogue pushes a lot of damage very quickly.
Yes, Henchclan Thug is one of the hardest minions to deal with unless you have early game chargers. You can see that Mage is valuing that early game board presence, playing the Firefly and the Flame Elemental. However, did get a little bit on the greedier side, playing Caverns below first. You have seen people play the Firefly to get the 1-2 preemptively. It's not necessarily as important just to get the damage, but to try to just accelerate the board to stop as much damage coming to you as possible. So Mage being able to have these Fireflies early on are going to pay off a pretty big dividend to deal with his Henchclan Thug.
Yeah, he's going to take 4 damage attack into it, but it does get the Thug off the board, so it won't be a further threat. But Firefly number 2 comes down. Still big ways to go on that quest. Oh, and second Thug off the top for Aqua here.
That's rough. That's rough. Without it, Aqua actually had a fairly dead turn, which gives Mage the ability to do a lot of stuff, whether point out the Evil Minstrel, develops his Novice Engineer and figure out what happens next. He does have that Flame Elemental still, so that is his best hope for finishing the quest, but he still needs other ways to stall. 1 mana remaining. Ooh!
Glacier Shard is a nice pickup off of that Minstrel here for Mage here. Can slow down the Henchclan Thug if he chooses. About to play it immediately, then slows down and waits. And he might be considering potentially trying to use the quest on that with his Youthful Brewmaster.
That's right.
He is only, you know, this will be his first shard, so he would need to sort of reset his count. He would have had played 2 Flame Elementals to progress that. But he may, yeah, it looks like he may be just realizing, or deciding at least, that maybe too slow, and he needs to get this down right away and prevent the damage. It's
too slow for a myriad of reasons. One, he only has 1 bouncer. 2, if he wants to get Sonya Shudderwalk, or sorry, Sonya Shadow Dancer, you know, active, it has to work with chargers. So, you know, it's very difficult for Mage to finish with just a Glacier Shard. Vanish does give Mage some opportunities to continue to stay alive and stall. So, you know, I mean, I can see kind of a line. If Mage picks up Shadow Step or Preparation, these are some really powerful tools for Mage to figure out a way out of this, because Aqua's best turns are coming up. The moment he picks up Fungal Mancer or he picks up a Cold Blood versus Leroy, I mean, that pretty much ends him.
Yeah, Vanish will help reset the board. There's Fungal Mancer.
Insane damage coming out from this Odd Rogue. And it's only relative to the fact that Quest Rogue is so slow on its startup now. Ever since its double nerf, it's certainly lost a little bit of its step of explosiveness.
Yeah, and the problem for Mage here is without a preparation, the Vanish will just reset the board. Aqua will just be able to replay it. Giggling Inventor, okay, that's an excellent pickup for Mage here. Don't know if it's enough to really help keep him alive now. There's a lot of minions on the board. He could dagger down the Noyotron, trade into the Fungal Mancer, and then get the Giggling Inventor down.
Right.
He could potentially try and get the Giggling Inventor down with another minion.
Like the Flame Elemental?
Yeah. He could potentially have that down if he's trying to set up to Vanish the following turn.
Well, his best play, I mean, part of the reason why Giggling Inventor is so insane is because of synergy with Sonya Shadow Dancer.
Right.
As well. So if Mage is going to be playing most likely Sonya next turn, that gives him only 4 mana remaining, which is enough for him to play a bit and bounce.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this does mean that for Aqua here, you know, he doesn't really have a way to activate his. Okay, there's no Giggle. He does not have a way to activate his own Biofine, so there is the possibility of Sonya plus Giggles. And the
Kibler, there is straight fire being drawn this game. You know, you see Aqua getting double Henchclan Thug into his Fungal Mancer, and then picking up Unstable Element with that legendary spell off the Boomsday Project is going to give him the ability to finish the game with damage. assuming this doesn't work.
This, though, Sonya with both Giggles and the deckhand here, he can deckhand down this, play his one-cost Giggles, play a one-cost deckhand.
Oh my goodness. And Quest's going to make the comeback.
He's building up a huge board here. Now, there's only so many minions that Aqua has to be able to take these down. He did find, okay, so there is a possibility of at least taking down Sonya here. He doesn't have really that much to push through is the problem. If he doesn't take down Sonya, there's just going to be endless Annoyatrons coming off of the Annoyatrons themselves, plus Giggles.
Yeah, Sonya is the utmost priority right now.
So I feel like he has to use... just trying to figure out what happens if he just Leroys. Like if you just Leroy into SI, so you still have... And probably works. Now, you probably want to SI and Vile Spine to take down the Sonya here.
I think so.
And then you can start chipping away at these Annoyatrons.
This guy's
I mean, it ends up being a really good draw, too, because once again, it puts Aqua in a position where he's just going to kill next turn. And so Mage has to vanish, and he doesn't even have enough Annoyatrons to finish the quest that way. So one of the fundamental questions we're going to ask, oh, Shadow Steps. Now he can finish the quest with just Giggling Inventors.
Well, he has 2 on the Flame Elemental. So he could play, say, Flame Elemental, Vanish. I guess he wouldn't really want to replay the Flame Elemental. He could play Flame Elemental, Vanish, Flame Elemental, Shadow Step it, which gives him the completion of the quest next turn. But he doesn't. He only has a single deckhand he'd really be able to play at that point.
Yeah, but it does make his Giggling Inventors much stronger.
Well, he wouldn't be.
But he could be able to play.
Right, he doesn't have preparation. The problem is he doesn't have preparation, so getting toward that isn't as powerful as it otherwise could be.
Right. There's another also problem that's existing, which is Mage. The board just keeps getting stronger.
Right.
So even if he sets up a Giggling Inventor, it's going to have enough attacks. The Vanish is certainly happening. The question is the follow-up.
Oh, he's at 3 on this anyway, so yeah, that's basically just better than the Flame Elemental. You can just play the Flame Elemental out now, yeah, and still have the ability to complete with Deckhand plus Shadow Step next turn and have this in the board. Yeah, this is just better than what I was saying. I forgot that Deckhand had the same amount of quest triggers as the Flame Elemental.
Still doesn't stop the problem of Aqua being able to set up multiple threats this turn.
Well, he did get to vanish the Giggles, so worst case scenario, even if he can't complete his quest and be able to challenge the board with that, like if he draws Preparation, he can potentially complete his quest, Preparation out the quest, and play Giggles next turn, right? He has 9.
Yes, that would be enough.
So that would be just a hugely dominant board. Of course, that depends on what Aqua plays, because he does know that he banished back a Vile Spine Slayer, so he can't be, depending on how big the board is, he can't be at least completely reliant on just 2 taunts.
Yeah, and also from Aqua's position too, he's really close to almost like getting there just with like SI7 and Leroy itself.
Right.
So,
yeah. Does he just want to dagger the face this turn? You know,
he could dagger the 1-2 and then save the dagger for the SI Leroy. I guess that puts him at 10, right? But that's assuming everything on the board dies again. I think I like killing the 1-2.
Yeah.
Preserve the minion on board.
It's true if you kill the 1-2. Oh, Preparation. This is exactly what we're talking about. Deckhand plus Shadow Step. Preparation the quest. This is huge.
And then Giggling
I think that's what you want to do. You get to play, you get to kill something with your deckhand immediately. You get to get the Giggling Inventor down.
Oh my gosh, that's insane. The best draw in Mage's deck. I'm getting flashbacks to Colento versus RDU back in the Spring Championship.
Like, well, he can draw Preparation. There it is.
Yes, and that's exactly the case. And he's able to take down one of the biggest threats in Vicious Fledgling.
So what happens if Aqua just plays Leroy plus the Vile Spine next turn? If he does play Giggling Inventor here. If Aqua plays Leroy plus the Vile Spine, he kills one of the taunts. He can get he can't get the put up damage. he's actually not going for Giggling. He does have a Noyotron. So Noyotron is, he's just rather clear off the board, which I think this actually makes a lot of sense. He'd rather just, clear off this board entirely. You can see, he knows that he wasn't dead in the empty board last turn from this 11. But if there's a Cold Blood here, he dies.
Yeah.
Wait, did he?
Oh, did he get the
He didn't get the attack in! Oh, that's just lethal. He roped, did not get the attack on the Henge Clan Thug, and just straight died.
This guy's toast.
Oh, dear.
I think Aqua's showing, well, you were dead anyway. Even if you killed that, you were still dead. The rope didn't make you lose.
I have a very hard time, I guess because in Mage's perspective, he really thought that protecting his Giggling Avenger was his last line of defense, because if he just plays Giggling Avenger and his opponent Vile Spines the 4-4 in the middle,